How's everyone doing today?
Okay.
That's great to hear. So I'm going to call to order the June 27th meeting of the Montgomery County Board of Commissioners. Note the presence of all three commissioners. And I am going to have Diego lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So kick us off. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, Diego. All right. So last week, the county hosted its third annual Juneteenth flag raising ceremony, and we announced the winners of the Art and Prowess of Freedom Youth contest. Approximately 100 people attended the show to support and to congratulate all of our young contest winners. It was such a great moment to be there last week, to celebrate and reflect, and I'm thankful to everyone who came out. Our contest winners came from across the county, including Souderton, all the way to Souderton and Cheltenham, and from all age groups, 1st to 11th grade. These young artists and writers shared how their personal experience shaped their ideas for a future that uplifts everyone, no matter who they are. So I want to congratulate the award winners again. I also want to welcome another inspirational group of Montgomery County students. Here with us today, we have our first ever cohort of Montco Works Public Service Pathway Fellows. That's a mouthful, right? They were selected for this 3-week fellowship program because of their interest in careers in public service. So for me, as a proud Norristown graduate, I'm pleased to welcome all of you and giving you the opportunity to explore career pathways in local government, whether it's from city planning to health and human services, administration to law. There's so many opportunities that are available here in the county. So this opportunity really gives you an opportunity to really explore what's out there. And I know when I was at Norristown Area High School, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so this is an opportunity for you to really think about all of the possibilities for your future. So use this time. You could be doing a lot of things this summer, but use this time to really ask questions, explore what's available, and see what potential future careers are available to you. So I'm really excited for you to be here. And I'd also like to thank Jennifer Butler, our Executive Director of the Montco Works program, and the Commerce Department for their hard work in putting together this pilot program. It was really important to me, and I know this administration, that we create a pipeline of future county leaders, and so I'm glad that we're able to kick this thing off. So I want to invite you all up to take a picture with us. If you're not too shy this morning, you all are staring at me intently. So why don't you come on up behind the podium here and we'll take a picture, okay? And let's give them a round of applause for spending their summer.
How are you going to pull that one off?
Good job. Nice. How are you guys doing? All right, come on up. We'll squeeze in,
Keep coming. All the way across.
Squeeze in. This is day one, right? Is this day one? Day three. Okay, so you came back for day 3. Okay. Awesome. All right. Stand here. Can you get everybody in?
Yep.
All right.
Going down a little bit more. So we get you in front. There we go. I think we, wait a minute. We don't want to hide you. Come over here a little bit. There you go.
There you go, perfect.
Got everyone?
You are a great organizer. Oh, there's a fellow, yes, there you go, perfect, thank you. All right, great job.
All right. Best
All right.
of luck,
Thank
okay?
you. Great job, guys.
Thanks for being here. Okay, hold on. Nope. Are we going to sit for the whole commissioners meeting? Okay, good. All right. So next up, I wanted to give an update on the Whole Home Repairs Program, which we launched back in February. This program was issued and designed to prioritize assistance towards our most vulnerable homeowners and those with homes that are in desperate need of repair. So for 2024, we're proud to share that we can now help 100 residents improve their homes. The value of this funding goes beyond the physical upgrades to Montgomery County's oldest homes. And I just want to give you a couple of examples. So one 76-year-old senior lives in a home in Norristown that was built in 1890. She cares for 4 children under the age of 6. And the children have been showering in the neighbor's house because their bathroom has been in disrepair. So thanks to the Whole Home Repairs Program, she will now be able to fix that water damage, the mold exposure, and other issues so that this 7-member household can continue to stay safely in their home. In addition, we had a single mother in Royersford who will be able to afford mold and water damage remediation, addressing heating issues, and more. And the grant that she received will make her century-old home habitable for her and her 7 children, three of which are under the age of 6. So we believe that this program that this board launched with funding from our state partners will help in saving lives, helping families stay together, and ensuring that we can create safe living conditions for those families. We received far more applications than were available to support at this time, so we as a Board of Commissioners are advocating for more funding to continue to support families throughout Montgomery County. In addition, I'm really excited to announce that Montgomery County is awarding $3.5 million in operational grants to our county's child care and daycare centers. We will be doing a press conference later this summer to really share how important this program is. An additional $500,000 will be allocated to support substitute teacher needs. The funding came as a result of pandemic recovery funds, the Federal American Rescue Plan, and state and local fiscal recovery funds. These grants were coordinated by the county's recovery office. The COVID-19 pandemic revealed that we had many stress points on our economy. It also emphasized existing inequities in our society. So our recovery office is working to help our economy and communities continue to recover from the impacts of the pandemic and to grow stronger for the future. Quality and affordable childcare is an essential part of our economy. Working families rely on daycares to look after their children so that they can go to work in our communities as educators, healthcare workers, whatever your profession may be. And this includes my family. And so I'm grateful that the daycare that we send our son to, Kids Connect, has been caring for our son Max, who is now, I can't believe, in pre-K. So he's 4, and he goes to Kids Connect, and they are one of the recipients of this grant. And so I'm grateful to all the child care centers across Montgomery County. And Eli, how many are getting this? Not to put you on the spot, but you told me you would be here.
That's right. There's 419 total daycares in the county, and all of them are eligible. We have 61 in the first batch that are going out next Friday. There's another 21 that I just got through, so I'm going to hope to get them approved as well, so it's for next Friday.
So we're really working to ensure that all child care centers that are eligible can take advantage of this grant. So Eli, thank you for your leadership on that effort, and we look forward to sharing more details in the days ahead. And finally, next week is Independence Day, and I want to wish everyone a very happy and safe holiday. Our county offices will be closed July 4th and will reopen July 5th. As always, this time of year, please take precautions when handling fireworks. I often have to tell my husband this. They're fun, but they can be very dangerous. And so please also stay updated on hot weather advisories and code red alerts. And so you can find out more about those precautions on our county website. So that's it for me, and I'll turn it over to Commissioner Makisha for some remarks.
Awesome. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm very much looking forward to the child care announcement, along with Commissioner Winder. I have a number of things I'm going to try to get through quickly, some that I'm really excited about. One, we're nearing the end of Pride Month, and it's really been fantastic to see the energy around the county at the Pride flag raisings at municipalities and hearing about some of the great work that has been done at the local level. The LGBT community has seen tremendous progress in achieving equal rights in certain areas in our lifetime, whether it's military service or the right to marry and all of the rights that come along with that. But there's still a ways to go, particularly in regard to employment protections here in Pennsylvania. And so there are about 20-some municipalities that have taken action on that, as we've noted this month in our prior meeting. We enacted a bipartisan ordinance supporting these kinds of anti-discrimination initiatives and others. And so we want to expand and follow up on that. And one way we want to do that is by launching the LGBTQ Commission here at the county level. And that's something that Commissioner Winder noted last meeting, but we want to let you know that those applications are now open, so you can apply. Is Donna here? Donna Richmond, or
Who's behind the mic?
she's behind the mic, Donna. If you have any questions, please direct them to Donna, but we really want to have a robust commission that can help advise the county on policies that both we can implement, support in municipalities, and really just lifting up those stories within the LGBTQ community to share some of the excellent leadership that we have in the county and to continue to show that Monco is an inclusive, welcoming space for people. And that will happen. The announcements will happen October 10th. The applications are open today through Saturday, August 3rd. So please look out for that and share the word with those who might be interested. So I think last week, I can't believe it's been such a busy week. Norristown Dam, was that last week that we were, 2 weeks ago? But after the meeting, so we missed it.
In the past.
It was in the past.
Yeah.
But very important to know that we had our first public meeting, part of the essential process to get a federal permit to add a hydroelectric facility to the Norristown Dam. And that's been in the works, that's been talked about for 20 years, but we're entering a new phase that is going to make this a reality, which is really exciting. Commissioner DeBello was with me down at the dam. Conveniently, Frosty Falls, the ice cream spot, is right next to the dam site, so that was a nice bonus. But
Did you have ice cream? Did you
I
share a
certainly
cone?
did.
I didn't.
So
Okay.
that's, yeah.
Yeah, we looked on both sides.
That's why.
Okay,
Lady in the
I'm not
train.
going to comment on that.
okay.
So, 7,300 megawatt hours of energy is produced each year by what's estimated for the dam. So that's enough to power One Montgomery, the new Justice Center for the year, and the equivalent of about 3,000 homes. So this would be one of the most significant clean energy projects in the region and certainly in Montgomery County ever. So very excited about that. And then Commissioner Winder and I were at a solar field, potential solar field site up at
Spring
Mountain.
Mountain.
Spring Mountain Adventures. It's a ski resort for those of you who might have been. This is where people learn to ski year round. So it takes a lot of energy to make fake snow. And what they're going to be able to do is create a solar field of 1,000 solar panels. It'll cut the cost for the owner by $100,000 a year. And that was made possible by the Inflation Reduction Act, the federal legislation passed just a couple of years ago. They're going to be getting $600,000 from the federal government to make that happen. So it's something that's great for the business owner, it's great for the community, and it's a way that we can reduce climate emissions and transition to clean energy. So that was a really great visit we had. Congresswoman Dean, as well as Sochil. Torres Small, the Deputy Secretary of Agriculture, were present for that, as well as some Lower Salford Township supervisors. One other thing before I have a final letter of commendation to present, which is that Supreme Court recently had a decision in which they struck down a law that was passed actually by the Trump administration to ban bump stocks. And those of you who aren't aware, or you may know that in 2017, the most fatal mass shooting in American history happened in Las Vegas. Over 400 people were shot, 60 people were killed, and that was by someone who used a bump stock, which is a device that turns an assault rifle essentially into a machine gun. And we've never seen that level of devastation in this country, a mass murder of civilians. And many people are thinking about and asking, what can local governments do? What can our state government do? And unfortunately, the Supreme Court really has tied our hands on this issue, and the state legislature has as well historically. However, I do want people to know that there is fantastic, just absolutely critical work being done, particularly by our district attorney's office and Kevin Steele. There's been an initiative to prosecute gun crimes, including straw purchases, illegal gun sales in Montgomery County. Our solicitor, Ben Field, and I got to learn a little bit about this with the district attorney's team of detectives who've brought a number of cases in this area related to illegal sales at a gun show here in Montgomery County. And it's a priority for us to continue to make sure that Monco is a safe place for all of our residents, and that we also work regionally. So Mayor Parker has led on this issue. The city of Philadelphia recently negotiated a settlement that benefits Montgomery County by limiting ghost gun sales in the entire region. So this is something that we can work on with the mayor and our regional partners as well. And I've asked Ben to find a number of legal ways that we can take action to make sure that we keep our residents safe. So I want to thank Ben for his leadership on this issue. He worked on it significantly with the city of Philadelphia when they took that action, and there's more that we can do more that we can do in our role here in Montgomery County. So thank you, Ben. And finally, I'm really happy to share this letter of commendation. So June is Immigrant Heritage Month, and this is a really important month for me. You know, I grew up, my parents are both immigrants, my grandparents were refugees. When I think about their story and how they got here and the struggle and the work it took to give me the opportunity now to sit here as the first Asian American in Pennsylvania as a commissioner, I think about other communities that have lived that dream, and people within Montgomery County who we want to recognize. And there's someone who many of you may know just down the street, half a block, Lucy Velasquez, who is the co-owner of Trejo Restaurant, who's sitting right here in the blue. Trejo is now reaching its 20th year in operation here in Norristown. So really excited to recognize and just thank you for being a part of the revitalization of Norristown. I got to sit with Lucy just yesterday, and we talked a little bit about her story, and if you don't mind, I want to share some of it because it's extraordinary. So Lucy first came to the United States and worked in the fields and picked oranges. She worked in a sticker factory and knew that she wanted to live the American dream. She wanted to run her own business. She wanted to be able to provide for her family, and she did that here in Pennsylvania, in Norristown. And the way that that happened is extraordinary. So the restaurant, now known as Trejo, which is yours, was actually an Italian restaurant, I think called County Seat. Is that right? County Seat Restaurant. And they were closed on the weekend. And the owner, who you told me, Ben, was very generous. And after you had already started learning that people wanted to buy the food that you were just making at home, that you wanted to build a restaurant. And this was the place that you found a space, and he didn't even charge you. And so you had to clean everything up. She had to clean everything up by Monday morning because it had to be an Italian restaurant again. And then again on the weekend, it became a Mexican restaurant. And I love that story. It's very similar to one that my dad has in terms of the people who welcomed him and helped him when he didn't have footing in the country. And to think that you've been there now for 20 years and served so many people, and there are regulars that you've talked to me about, whether it's our friend Judge Hakeem Jones, I don't know if he's here this morning, many of the judges, the police officers in Norristown, people who come to see your restaurant and the inviting atmosphere that you've created as a second home. And I feel that way. You know, we have a fancy 8th floor and flags in the office, but I feel more at home at Trejo than anywhere else around. So I just want to commend you and congratulate you on 20 years here in Norristown, and thank you on behalf of the commissioners. So thank you. Let's take it.
Yeah, and your food's great too, so. Thank you.
Yeah, just.
Center a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes, there we go, sorry.
There you go.
Awesome. Do you want to say anything? Go ahead.
Yeah. Why don't you go to the podium right there if you feel comfortable? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm gonna let her say a couple of them. She was gonna say.
Okay, I would like to thank the Montgomery County Board of Commissioners for this recognition. It is a true honor. We are thankful for the many people from the county courthouse in One Montgomery Plaza who support our restaurant each day. We are also thankful for the Norristown residents and the first responders who visit us throughout the year. My personal story and our family journey to get here today has not been easy. It would not have happened without hard work, sacrifice, and people of this community. My family is truly grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, you good? All right, Commissioner DeBello?
Well, I'm going to, I'll just cut back here a little bit.
You don't have to.
No, that's all right. So, as you mentioned, you know, July 4th is right around the corner. It's going to be America's 248th birthday next week, and I hope everyone enjoys the holiday with their loved ones. I know this is my first year as a county commissioner, and I'm really excited to be serving alongside my fellow county commissioners. And we will be participating in, I believe, 2 parades on July 4th, one in Skippack, and the other one will be over in Glenside. So if you want to take a break from your hot dogs and hamburgers, come and see the parades. I've been at them before, and they're a lot of fun. So, you know, make sure that you have the opportunity. I believe the Skippack parade starts at 11 o'clock, and one in Glenside starts at 4 o'clock. So as mentioned, please, everyone have a safe and happy July 4th. But also take the opportunity to remember what July 4th is all about. Also, I know that there's a whole staff within Montgomery County are working towards our America 250 that we'll be celebrating in 2026. As a reminder, there's several things that will be going on, but a couple big things. We'll have World Cup games as well as the PGA Championship at Aronimink. So we're going to be having visitors from all around the world here in Montgomery County, so we'll be preparing for that as well. We have the Pennypack Trail, Fox Chase, Lamar, I don't know how you say that, trail. We're excited that the trail will soon extend down the Philadelphia city line near the Lorimer Park. It's just a small bit of the trail left to complete, which will connect Pennypack Trail to the city's Fox Chase Trail. Later in this meeting, we'll be voting on awarding the contract to construct that at least 850 feet of that trail. In the meantime, I think it's important that this is development our residents can get excited about. The Pennypack Trail is one of the most popular trails in the county. So once this section is completed, down to the city line, residents in the area will have a better access to the park in both Fox Chase, Lorimer, and the Pennypack Trails. Before I jump on into the Monco winners that we want to acknowledge for June, I did want to mention that we unfortunately had another fire in one of our fire departments. I guess it was last month or 6 weeks ago, we had a fire in our Goodwill Fire Department up in Pottstown. And unfortunately, Gladwin had a fire last week or over the weekend. And I believe that fire, you guys probably have been in contact with them. It had pretty severe damage to the firehouse there, right?
To the rear.
To the rear of the firehouse, and so I don't know if there's anything from a county perspective that we can do to help, but it's something that we have to look further into. I also had the opportunity we get invited to a lot of ribbon cuttings throughout Montgomery County, but there's two that I just want to mention real quick. Last week I went to CJ Sweet Palace over in the Glenside area, and it was just a small little ice cream shop. But was really awesome to be part of that event was that it's just a couple, and it was his life dream to own an ice cream shop. And it's probably about 600-700 square feet, and he was just so excited that he was living his dream. And I had also attended another one, which was Glass Doctor over in Fort Washington. And again, it was a similar situation where a father-son team, the father worked at Merck for probably 35 plus years and retired, and decided that him and his son were going to go into this together and be able to work together. And it was always his dream and his son's dream. His son wanted to go into business and do something, and it was always the dream of his father as well to do some kind of business or some type of opportunity with his son. So it was just really cool to be part of seeing these small businesses that are opening through Montgomery County and listening to the stories about why and what got them to those points. And those two I just wanted to point out because it's just cool. Being a previous small business owner, it's just fun to watch people that take that step, especially when it's been a lifelong dream. And finally, I did have the opportunity yesterday to go over to Discovery Labs. Again, for those that are familiar with that, it's just it's a 200 acre plus 200 plus acres of offices and labs and all that's geared towards the life sciences. It's just an amazing what's happening there, and we have not only most of, if not all of the local pharmaceuticals or global pharmaceutical companies have some part of involvement with that facility, and listening to their vision and their future plans. It's just amazing what's being built out and the opportunities that's going to be coming to or already are in Montgomery County. And the one thing I want to point out, and I was talking with them about, is that there's a lot of manufacturing type jobs within those facilities that are hiring high school kids. And they take the time to train the students when they graduate from high school. For those that not necessarily know what their next career path is, if they want to go to college, military, or whatever it may be, but this is an option that these companies are over there, that they're hiring high school kids to go in, learn a profession, and listening to the opportunities are there, they turn into very good profession. So it's just another avenue to explore for our high school students. So, and there'll be more to come, because I know talking with them, they're going to be talking with the county in future opportunities, as well as they're talking with the state. So it's just an amazing complex that's underway or been underway there. And then finally, let's jump right to our June Montgo Way to Go winners. We have a few that we want to recognize here. We have, our first up is Robert Bear, a sergeant in the sheriff's office. Sergeant Bear goes above and beyond every day at work. He is always willing to assist with any issues that arise. He often takes others' overtime shifts when they have conflicts and does not ask for anything in return. Sergeant Bear is truly a selfless leader, and he helps make the department a great place to work. Congratulations, Robert. Is Robert here today? No? Then we have next up Brian Bonsal, our capital projects manager in roads and bridges department. We commend Brian's professionalism, knowledge, and communication skills. His work with the engineers, masons, and construction personnel makes these projects he's involved in run extremely smoothly. Brian has helped steer numerous projects to completion under both time and budget, while still ensuring high-quality work and results. Is Brian with us? Guess they didn't get the memo.
And
Well, I know Ann is here because I see Ann sitting back there. Of course, Ann Levitt Gruberger, our county planning manager, who's been at our meetings multiple times in the last 6 months, presenting different things, and works extremely hard for the county. She's a true asset. She's always willing to step in and use her knowledge to help others. She shows her commitment to making the county a better place for all the work by attending DEI training sessions, participating in work groups, and by leading an equity-focused team in her own department. Congratulations, Ann. And then, yeah. Next up is Samantha Painter, an adult probation officer. Samantha here. Since joining the department to better serve the community, Officer Painter has continually gone above and beyond for her team. She cares about those she works with and has implemented evidence-based practices and motivational interviewing. She uses her various community resources to help probationers become healthy, and contributing members of society. Congratulations, Samantha. And last but not least, we have Margaret Reinhardt. Is Margaret here? She's an early intervention officer support person in the Office of Mental Health, Development, Disabilities, and Early Intervention. Margaret is a wonderful asset to the EI department. As an officer support person, she does more than is required, and she will tackle anything thrown at her. She also has very upbeat personality and doesn't let the negative take her down. She is always smiling and spreading joy. Congratulations, Margaret. So on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, we congratulate, we are grateful for the exemplary work of those county employees. So thank you for everything that you're doing. So I think that it would be great if we at least get, come on up so we get a picture with one of our favorite from the Planning Commission, Ann.
I'll be back at your next meeting too.
What's that?
I'll be back at your next meeting
Oh,
too.
we don't want to chase you away.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hey, you don't get to be in the picture.
I know, isn't that strange? I don't get to be in the pictures. Yeah.
Well, we'd have to find more cameras because I think they would break.
All right. Thank you for your comments. Okay, so next up we have a presentation on the gun violence epidemic. So I'd like to invite Marla Davis Bellamy up to do a short presentation for us. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, commissioners and senior officials and all of my Montgomery County residents, fellow residents here today. My name is Marla Davis Bellamy. I'm the director of the Philadelphia Ceasefire Program based at the Katz School of Medicine. But most importantly, I have lived in Montgomery County over 30 years, and certainly I'm proud to be a part of your meeting today. The program that I actually represent today is Philadelphia Ceasefire. It's a public health violence intervention program. I'm the former chief of staff of the Pennsylvania Department of Health in Harrisburg, where we look at violence as a disease. The reason why we look at violence as a disease is because it actually spreads from person to person. We look at those individuals who are deeply engaged in high-risk activity as carriers of that disease. And those individuals, the more they're exposed to others, it spreads just like a disease or infectious disease from person to person. We also talk about learned behavior. If in fact you're around these individuals for a long period of time, extended period of time, typically you also pick up that behavior. And it's not just necessarily violence. It could be smoking, it could be use of drugs, it could be any of those things, social media, et cetera. And so this is one of the reasons why we look at violence as a public health crisis. We had the Surgeon General just this week talk about firearm crisis and public health as a public health issue. Research confirms that easy access to guns is a risk factor for violence, and more specifically, that easy access to guns increases the risk of homicide, shooting, and accidental shootings. The availability of guns increases the risk to women who are abused by their partners and leads to more deadly encounters with police and contributes to the threat of violent extremism. In terms of intervention, when an individual is victimized by violence, it increases the likelihood that they will be victimized and or become a perpetrator of gun violence, then starting a cycle of gun violence and involvement in the criminal justice system. There are various approaches, maybe some of them implemented here in Montgomery County, from GBI to Cure Violence, which is what we're engaged in, hospital-based practices. There are a number of evidence-based models that are being implemented across the country and certainly here in Pennsylvania. We got started in terms of the Cure Violence model. This is under the Rendell administration, and during that time, unfortunately, Pennsylvania had a very high homicide rate. And it was actually Dr. Risa Lavisa Moray, pictured on the right, who was at the time president and CEO of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, that reached out to the governor and said, we have a model, an evidence-based model proven to be effective in terms of reduction of homicides and shooting that's working, that you should implement here in Philadelphia and also in Pittsburgh. So that's what was done. Cure Violence, which started almost about 20 years ago, now has over 200 sites that's replicating the model across the world. When we talk about community violence as a public health issue, we focus on prevention. We talk about learned behavior. We identify and treat those at risk. The model is data-driven, so we're looking at shootings and homicides and where they occur. And this is where we certainly implement our program. We also talk about norm change for individuals and community. We talk about managing anger constructively and providing behavioral health support. And we also try to eliminate silos in terms of organizations, certainly the city, working collaboratively together, and to also think outside the box. Does this program in particular work? Absolutely. When we started our Philadelphia Ceasefire program, we started in the 22nd Police District that had the most homicides and shootings in actually the city of Philadelphia. And after 3 years, we saw a 30% decrease in shootings in our particular target area. Most Cure Violence sites across the country see a 20 to 60% reduction. So this is a program that we definitely know works. In addition to our Cure Violence model, we also replicate or have replicated the Chelsea Hub, which is actually a law enforcement model that was started in Canada and kind of migrated to Massachusetts. And what we're doing there is we're bringing organizations from across the city to work collaboratively together to address individuals who are in need. One of these cases, our first case, we had an individual, unfortunately, who was shot on July 4th and was paralyzed as a result of that. And that was brought to our attention by a school worker. And then as a result of that, we had about 10 agencies come together to provide food, to provide counseling support, transportation, et cetera, for that family immediately. This is a model now that we have been implementing for about 3 years, and we have evaluated about 70 or so situations. In terms of lessons learned, leadership is paramount, coordination is key. Law enforcement is very critical in terms of sharing that data. Funding and infrastructure support for neighborhood efforts is very important. We also know that social media plays a critical role, and we're trying to actually identify people to monitor social media for us. And then we want to eliminate silos. In terms of violence, we should be talking about suicide, domestic violence, school shootings, and mass shootings as well. These little guys are my children. In addition to working in terms of violence, I was also a foster parent. For 6 years, I'm providing medical care for multiples who certainly had some medical issues. These little guys came to us at 6 weeks. One had a concussion, the other a leg fracture. But we have had them now for 6 years. They just turned 6, just graduated from pre-K. And we're doing all that we can to help them and our children because, as the Surgeon General announced, violence is actually the leading cause of death for our children and teens. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What area of Montgomery County are you in?
Springfield Township.
Springfield Township, great, great. Well, thank you for being here and bringing some awareness to the work that you're doing. When I think about my young family and I think about the world that we're raising our son in, and I think about 40 years ago when I was in school, we didn't have to think about mass shootings. We didn't have to think about active shooter drills. And so I think it's important that, we use our office to support programs like you talked about. And so I want my son to grow up in a world where he doesn't have to be fearful of gun violence. So thank you for the work that you do. Yeah, okay. Anything? Okay. All right, thank you for being here. All right, next up is public comment, and just as a reminder, this section of public comment is for today's pending votes, resolutions, bids, RFPs, and contracts. As a reminder, speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Who do we have up first for public comment? Thank you all for being here. You're missing the exciting part, public comment. So.
All right, we have David Morgan.
All right.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Mr.
David Morgan from Ambler. I notice on Exhibit C, second point, the contract award lists other responders, which I haven't seen before. So that way we see if we're looking at these bids and seeing instead of spending $999,000, spending $1.6 million, we're spending $999,000 in this item. And that also happened in point 13. So the other responders, instead of 199, which was we awarded, they were offering 298 or 326,000. So that's good savings to see. I'm glad it's clarified. We're more aware of what's going on with the spending. I didn't see any particular ones on point 14 for costs, but it did list 2 other responders. So I think it's a good step because we're at the second quarter ending of our year, at least for budgeting, and I'm looking forward to progress in helping our taxes be low, since they were up 34% the last few years. And so anything we can do about knowing expenses related to the Justice Center, to the Planning Commission, reports like that would be great to know an update, because I remember the commissioners wanted that when we had the Justice Center presentation. So thanks very much for those steps.
Thanks, Mr. Morgan.
Okay, next up we have Kim Follett.
Hi, Kim.
Good morning, thank you. My name is Kim Follett and I'm with Plan Learn Centers. We operate 11 child care centers in Montgomery County and provide management services to 2 others in the county. And first I wanted to extend my thanks to the county for understanding and supporting child care as an industry during the last several years, which have been very challenging. With regard to today's agenda item and the additional funding of $500,000, I just wanted to ask the county to consider perhaps more within limits and accountability discretionary use of that funding. Substitutes, you'll hear us all say we need them very badly. The challenge is finding them. Many of us have spent upwards of hundreds of thousands of dollars through substitute agencies and still are not operating at capacity. And so our concern, mine in particular and some colleagues that I spoke with yesterday in advance of this meeting, was that it may not be able to be effective, restricted just to the use of a substitute pool. And there are certainly other funding categories, including retention of existing staff, insurance. As an example, our liability insurance went up by 17% in the last year because of reluctance to provide ongoing insurance coverage to providers. So that was my ask with regard to today's agenda item, and also just to extend as providers our interest in continuing to work with the county to talk about some strategic initiatives for addressing the workforce challenge on a more, regional level in terms of workforce initiatives and developing a pool of young people and others who could contribute to care for and early education for children in our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing that. We'll have actually somebody follow up with your couple of points, and then we can facilitate a meeting. Certainly appreciate those that are running childcare centers, the challenges. I know that the childcare center my son is at has seen significant turnover. It's not that people don't want to be in the profession, but the profession doesn't provide oftentimes a livable wage. And so they have to go and work at other places. So it's certainly something that I'm interested in being at the table to figure out solutions to solve for. So thank you for the feedback.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one more person on Zoom, Zakia Boone.
Zakia, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak today. As a follow-up to my colleague Kim, who's in the room, I also wanted to just make the request that providers be allowed to not only use these funds for substitutes, but for wages and compensation in general. Providers across the industry are seeing an extraordinary high rate of turnover, upwards of 90 days that we have a vacancy to replace a teacher. So we need dollars to be able to recruit teachers, and then once we get them, retain them. So when you see classrooms closed because you don't have a teacher in that room, it's not even as easy as, oh, let me just find a sub, because there are very limited substitutes available. So I just wanted to express our wish as providers to have those funds made available for wages and compensation in any number of ways, whether that be recruitment, retention, training and development, but any number of ways in order to continue to provide high quality care across Montgomery County. Thank you so kindly for hearing me today.
Thank you for your comment.
What section is that part of?
We have one other person, I'm sorry, Tyrone Scott.
Is it A?
Tyrone?
No. What section is it?
It's not really up to.
Oh, sorry. I must have logged in under Tyrone. This is Christina Lynch from South Mennonite Child Care Centers. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. First of all, thank you. This is the first time I've been a part of one of these meetings, so I really appreciate being a part of this. I'm just following up with Kim and Zakia as well. So we're here, Montgomery County in Hurleysville. We are one site, but we're a faith-based nonprofit center. So we're a little different here, but also the same. Struggling with keeping classrooms open, teacher retention, and as much as the $500,000 for subs would be appreciated, and it just, we're looking to spend those a little bit different to keep the teachers that we have, and recruiting, and similar to all those other things that Kim and Zakia said, because that's the foundation. You know, as you mentioned earlier in this meeting, Commissioner, that we need childcare. We need it to go to work. If you aren't using it now, I'm sure you used it at one point in your life, where you have a coworker that needs it or had to leave to pick up their child. And without that, we wouldn't be able to work. So having the support from the county, continue to support and to kind of keep brainstorming on other ways to keep this industry going. It's been a struggle for many years, and I think it would be really great if we can find some funding other places for us nonprofit places that tuition is what drives our employees, because that's what pays them, that's what covers our insurance, and without that, we're not able to pay them livable wages, as you mentioned before. But, you know, I'm sure I could go on and on, but I appreciate everybody's time and thoughts and efforts in childcare. And please let me know if you have any other questions.
Thank you for your comments. We good? That's all. Okay. Next up, I'd like to we'll go to the approval of the minutes. I'd like to make a motion to approve the May 23rd, 2024 and June 6th, 2024 minutes of the Montgomery County Board of Commissioners meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Makija. Any board comment? Moving to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up, we have the authorization to allow Lower Frederick Township to install a traffic garden in Foy Park. So Bill Hartman, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Good morning.
You will? I'll let you know. Great, thanks so much. Good morning again. Today, the Planning Commission is requesting authorization for Lower Frederick Township to install a traffic garden in the township's publicly accessible 7-acre Foy Park, subject to 2 conditions that I will explain in more detail in just a moment. But first, let me orient you as to where we're talking about with respect to this traffic garden. The area in orange that you see on this slide represents Lower Frederick Township. The red star on the eastern side of it is where Foy Park is located. It's right next to the Perkiomen Creek and very nearby the Perkiomen Trail. Next slide, please. Okay, thanks. Great. This is an aerial zooming in a little bit more. You can see Foy Park with that faint orange outline around it. That's the 7 acres. The dark line that you see running from the bottom of the slide on the left up to the middle of the slide at the top is Perkiomen Creek, but you can see that it sits right next to the creek. So it's an ideal location for a park. The 7 acres comprising Foy Park were acquired for open space purposes with Montgomery County Open Space Funds back in 1999. The associated declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions for that transaction includes language related to commissioner approval of proposed changes of use within the park. And among other things, the declaration states that the township shall manage and develop the property in an environmentally sensitive manner. The property may be used for passive recreational purposes, including walking trails, environmental education, and nature study. And the covenants and restrictions run with the land and bind the property in perpetuity unless the commissioners of the county give written permission to a change of use, transfer of ownership, or sale of the property. In 2005, it came to the attention of the County Open Space Board that the township had commenced with the construction of a skate park at Foy Park. The Open Space Board also learned that the township had previously installed a playground and a basketball court in the park, active recreational uses which conflicted with the passive recreational purposes allowed by the declaration. Next slide, please. You can see here in the left-hand side, upper left, that's the existing basketball court that was constructed. To the south of that, you can see the existing playground with playground equipment. And to the east or to the right of the basketball court, you can see an asphalt pad, and that's the pad that was placed to support the skate park that was proposed for Foy Park. At the June 2005 Open Space Board meeting, township representatives requested that the county release 1/2 acre of the park from the passive recreation covenant to permit the construction of the skate park. The Open Space Board denied the township's request, but allowed the township to leave the playground and basketball court in place since they were installed without the township realizing that they were in violation of the declaration. The asphalt pad already installed for the skate park was left in place and sits there to this day. In fact, this picture is a fairly recent aerial photo. Fast forwarding to the March and April 2024 County Open Space Board meetings, Lower Frederick requested permission to install a traffic garden at Foy Park on the existing asphalt pad that was originally installed for the skate park in 2005. As you likely already know, a traffic garden is typically a set of small-sized streets with scaled-down traffic features and urban elements where children and other new learners practice using streets in a place that is free from motor vehicles and that's safe. Next slide, please. This is an example of a traffic garden in New Hanover Township in the county. You can see that it's merely a painted surface on top of a hard surface. And in this example, you can see that there are roads represented, crosswalks, they have stop signs and yield signs, and it's meant to be a place where young children can learn to ride their bikes and become aware of traffic laws and be respectful of traffic and aware of the things that they need to look out for when they're using a bicycle on real streets. In April, the Open Space Board unanimously voted to approve the installation of the traffic garden on the existing asphalt pad. If you could jump to the next slide, please. Thanks. Since then, additional county analysis and coordination with the township manager have occurred and determined that approximately 75% of the existing asphalt pad proposed for use as the traffic garden is located within a FEMA regulated floodway, and that's the hatched area that you see on this slide. Asphalt within a floodway has several inherent adverse environmental impacts. First, it creates impervious coverage, eliminating the potential for infiltration and advancing downstream volume. Second, it challenges the principles of environmental resiliency and sustainability. And third, it creates a safety concern, since any asphalt dislodged during a flood event will produce downstream debris that can endanger lives and property. Therefore, development of the traffic garden on this pad would add a new and structured use on an improvement, that is the asphalt pad, that conflicts with sound development standards and the declaration's mandate that the township manage and develop the property in an environmentally sensitive way. Next slide, please. In light of these determinations and in coordination with the township, a solution has been developed that addresses the township's request to install the traffic garden, reflects the Open Space Board's support for the project, and respects the environmental concerns I just described, namely allowing the township to install the traffic garden on the existing basketball court, which is located completely outside of the floodway. The court's asphalt surface will support the installation of the traffic garden, and both activities can take place on this single facility. Additionally, the township has agreed to remove the existing asphalt pad that was initially proposed for the traffic garden and return it to a natural state. That's why the big red X is located on that existing asphalt pad. That will come out and be replanted. This approach will allow for the traffic garden while improving the resiliency of the site by keeping the traffic garden out of the floodway and reducing the total amount of impervious coverage in the park. This outcome represents a net environmental gain and improved alignment with the intent and spirit of the declaration. And therefore, Montgomery County Planning Commission staff is requesting commissioner authorization for Lower Frederick to install a traffic garden in Foy Park, provided that number one, the traffic garden is installed on the existing basketball court, and number two, the township removes the existing asphalt pad to the east of the basketball court and returns that area to a natural condition. Thanks.
Thank you. So I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 1 as described by Mr. Bill Hartman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Makija. Any board comment?
Just one quick question. What happens if they don't remove the asphalt? Because they've been freelancing out there since this agreement's been put in place.
So there are two things to answer that question. One is that, yes, we're relying on the good faith of the township to do that. We have a good relationship with the current township manager who brought this project to our attention in the first place. And we have every confidence that he'll follow through and his board will follow through on removing that. And secondly, the county has enforcement powers according to the declaration. And I come from an enforcement background in the land stewardship and land trust environment. So this is part of my professional DNA, and I can assure you that we will follow through to make sure that that happens.
Okay.
Are there any other traffic gardens? Like, this is a really cool concept, because I'm teaching my 4-year-old how to ride a bike, and that's a great way. Are there any traffic gardens like that other ones that you know of?
Well, there's that one in New Hanover.
That one in New Hanover?
And I have to
Okay.
confess that when I first heard this proposal, I needed to look up what a traffic
Right.
garden is.
Okay.
And what I don't know beyond the New Hanover one, but I do know they're growing in popularity, and it's a really simple way to get kids familiar with
Absolutely.
these things, so I would look for more to pop
It's a
up.
really good thing.
Yeah.
Good, okay. Any other board comment? All right, hearing none, moving to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
Great, thanks so much.
Thank you. Next up, I'd like to invite Catherine Halen, our Chief Human Resources Officer, to review the personnel list.
Good morning, Commissioners. You should have in front of you the final copy of the Commissioners' Department's personnel list. We have made some slight modifications to the personnel list. The list provides information on all new hires, promotions of existing staff, and a listing of those team members going off-roll as active team members. It is a 3-page document dated June 25th, 2024, with a timestamp of 3 p.m. These transactions have been reviewed by management and are now presented for your consideration.
Great. I'd like to make a motion to approve the June 27th, 2024 personnel presentation as given by Ms. Catherine Halen. Is there a second? Is there a second? Second by Commissioner DeBello. Any board comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Next up, advertisements of bids and RFPs, Montgomery County Exhibit A. I'd like to make a motion to approve the advertisement of bids and RFPs for Montgomery County as seen on attached Exhibit A. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner DeBello. Any board comments? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up, advertisements of bids and RFPs, Southeast Pennsylvania Regional Task Force, Exhibit B. I'd like to make a motion to approve the advertisement of bids and RFPs for the Southeast Pennsylvania Regional Task Force as seen on attached Exhibit B. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner DeBello. Any board comment? Moving to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up, awards of contract, Montgomery County Exhibit C. I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract awards, amendments, and renewals for Montgomery County on attached Exhibit C. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Makija. Any board comment? Moving to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Awards of contract, Southeast PA Regional Task Force, Exhibit D. I'd like to make a motion to approve the contracts, awards, amendments, and renewals for Southeast PA Regional Task Force on attached Exhibit D. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner DeBello. Any board comment? Hearing none, moving to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. General public comment, this is a limit to 3 minutes. Speakers may comment on matters that are or may be before the Board of Commissioners.
First up, Janine White, or Jean White.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Jean White, Montgomery. I have submitted 14 right-to-know requests for various Montco information. Lauren Rakowski, the Contracts and Right-to-Know Administrator, responds to each of my right-to-know requests with an acceptance email, and she assigns a Pennsylvania right-to-know case number for each request. After 5 days of receipt of Lauren Rakowski's email, I receive an email from Joshua C. Wertheimer, the newly hired Agent of Open Records Officer, requesting an allowable 30-day extension to the time to reply to my right-to-know submissions. Within those 30 days, on each of these 14 right-to-know requests, I get one of the following responses. On 4 of the 14, I was denied a response. I got a denial response, not part of the right-to-know law, by Joshua Wertheimer, and please submit a Montco voter records request form for all of these right-to-know requests. With the exception of one denial request and one partial response, I have submitted these voter services forms, which have a 5 business day requirement to reply. To date, I have only received the one insufficient info. Why? The insufficient reply involves Sarah sending me a report on the 2023 ERIC form letters sent out along with the number of responses received, but not the listing of the voters corresponding to that report. Frank Dean then sent me a report, but that report did not correspond to Sarah's reporting dates. I have appealed 2 of these right-to-knows request denials. I have resubmitted 4 of the right-to-knows due to a medical issue, and I have been denied on 1 on the belief that what I was asking for would affect the security of the Pennsylvania security system. The remaining 6 requests are pending a response with 5 business days. Can anyone explain to me why Voter Services ignores Montco voter service record requests when our Montco agent of open records, Joshua Wertheimer, states that I can obtain this information from Voter Services via the completion of the said form? I am a valid registered voter of Montco, so that is not an issue.
Did you write down do you have that written? Can you share that with our board secretary so we can look, there was a lot of detail there, so we can follow up and,
Sure.
and answer some of your questions?
Sure,
Okay,
thank you.
could you just give that to Stacy if you feel comfortable?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I have a quick question to our solicitor. Why would the response be it doesn't fall under open records?
So there are, in Pennsylvania state structure, some requests that are under the right to know law, and then there are some specific provisions within the election code. So the interpretation has been in state law that requests that are under the election code go through that process and not through the more general open records process. And I haven't reviewed these specific requests, but that's the framework.
So where'd you go? So you gave all your requests?
Well, I'm gonna write them down. I have all my numbers of what was assigned the right to know number. And then on every single one of them, they came back and told me submit a voter records form, and I get no response.
So let us look into all of that. So if you have it now, great.
So I'll write the numbers down. I do have them, but not on this piece of paper. So
It's
I have to
okay.
write
So
them down.
if you can look the numbers up and then write them down, and we'll take it and look into it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up.
Jim Malik?
Jim Malik, Worcester. I've attended multiple meetings inquiring about the policies, procedures, and protocols that are being used to ensure election integrity and integrity of the voter rolls. I've asked about what steps are being taken to purge the voter rolls of deceased voters and voters who have moved either out of the county or out of the state. I was told by Chair Makija, to paraphrase, that the responsibility for maintaining and purging your rolls belongs to the state. That's not correct. Because I called the state election board. Spoke to somebody for about 30 minutes, and I was told that Montgomery County voter rolls and their maintenance is the responsibility of the Montgomery County Board of Commissioners. The Board of Commissioners is an autonomous body, as they said, who can and should act to ensure the county's election integrity. So you're your own entity according to the state. It's not the state's responsibility, and that's what they told me. And this was a attorney. With regards to deceased voters, I was told by the state that the Department of Health transmits a report on either a weekly or bi-weekly basis to the county containing all the deaths in the county, including deceased voters. I confirm this with your election board staff here at the county. My question is, who's responsible for taking that report and purging the dead voters from the voter rolls? That's the thing I haven't found out. So if you could get me that, that would be good. How often is that done? When was it done last? And what is the total number of deceased voters that were purged from the rolls in 2024 to date? With regards to voters that moved out of the state or out of the county, the person I spoke to at the state election board told me it's the county's responsibility to purge the rolls of voters that have moved either out of the county or out of the state. Again, my question is, who's in charge of doing that? Purging the rolls of voters who have either moved out of the county or state? What policies, procedures, protocols are in place to be followed by staff to purge the voter rolls, how often is it accomplished, how many voters have either been moved out of the county or state have been purged from our rolls in 2024. Now, the reason I bring this up, we've been told there's no election fraud in Montgomery County. Well, you're never going to find it if you don't look for it. We've been told to go give you guys proof, which I will give you at the election board. But I'd like to, you spend a lot of time on some of these issues that are ideological, but I heard nothing about, voter integrity, right? So
We have an election board meeting after
no,
this.
I get it, but here at
Yeah.
this meeting as well.
Because we have an election board after this.
I got you, but you guys oversee everything.
Yeah,
You're ultimately,
that's the place where we'll talk about the things we're
top dog.
doing to ensure election integrity. So thank you for your comments. Look
Right.
for, we'll do some follow-up on that.
Yeah.
And if you want to,
We can talk about it in the election board.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, the term is not necessarily that the state is responsible, and if I said that, what I meant is that the guidelines and the standards by which people are removed from voter lists are determined at the federal and state level. So we do have a maintenance process, and we'll have our director of elections come on board when we start the meeting, and he can walk through some of that.
David Morgan?
David from Ambler. I was pleased to hear about your Father's Day celebration, Commissioner Makija. And so I do think it's wonderful the role fathers play, and as commissioners, to encourage fathers to really get involved with their children, to be devoted to their mother involved, not their mother, but the mother involved, and to consider marriage and all those things which hold up our society so well, to have that dedication. And when I hear about abuse by the partners in the gun violence talk, I realized we could go make steps to encourage mentoring perhaps in our communities, to have these fathers really step up. I've been blessed being a father myself, and I, as you remember, brought my fiddle last time, played some violin music to talk about the joy of having children, and also the commissioners can encourage adoption. Maybe give us a report how adoption's going in the court system and how many adoptions happen each year. November is adoption month, I know. And to also encourage the Blanco Mamas program, which has encouraging of successful birth outcomes. I have to say I was a little saddened to see an article about Vice President Harris's visit to Salis College, and the fact that here perhaps we can really let her know maybe about what's going on in Montgomery County for the positives, about the successful birth outcomes of Blanco Mamas. And I was concerned it was about reproductive rights. When I think of reproductive rights, I think of the reproduction successfully happening, whereas abortion is a failure of reproduction. So I like to have you encourage also the Planned Parenthood statistics are concerning. I looked up on page 24 of the annual report. Planned Parenthood tells us that 392 abortions happened, less than 2,000 adoption referrals happened. So wouldn't it be great if we're flipping that? There would be 490 adoption referrals, and prenatal care visits only 6,300. So it would be great to put that word out there, and yet our government money is $699 million on page 27 says goes to the government funding of Planned Parenthood. So often we can say, well, I wouldn't be here except for my parents, my mother and my father. And that's obvious, and if we can just encourage that in America to the joy of parenthood rather than other activities, and it's sort of like when abortion happens, the music stops. I played, and you can imagine the lullaby would not be heard by the young one coming along. So just want to kind of speak out for the wondrous young unborn in our communities. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Morgan. And I have had a chance to witness an adoption ceremony over at our courts. So certainly appreciate your perspective on that. But I also believe in a woman's right to choose what's best for her life. So I appreciate your perspective. Any other public comment?
Yes, up next, Marlene Laska.
Marlene, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay, I do not know if this is Marlene Laska from Upper Providence Township. I don't know whether to make this this comment at at the Board of Election meeting or give it here. So I'm looking for some guidance here.
So Marlene, if it's related to the election, and if you have comments about that, that's why we have an election board meeting and we have a public comment section. So I would encourage you to do it there so that it can go on public record.
Okay.
Thanks, Marlene.
Okay.
We'll be on to that meeting here shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Next is Jenny Remschneider.
Jenny, can you hear us?
Hey, am I unmuted?
You're good. We can hear you.
Okay, so first of all, thank you. I appreciate the reminder about fireworks safety. I'm always appalled at the number of people that don't pay any attention to that, so I hope they take heed. Thank you. And I'm going to get to my normal speech about my mother. Last week, communities throughout the country hosted events for World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. Abuse comes in many forms, but it is particularly egregious when it comes from those entrusted and paid to allegedly protect our elders. I'm reminding all Montgomery County taxpayers that your hard-earned money is taken from you and given to many individuals and agencies who purport to help, but instead create situations that jeopardize our elders. They act without oversight, without following ethics and regulations, and without repercussions. Abruptly extracting an 84-year-old blind woman from her life without warning or explanation to her is elder abuse. Forcing said woman into a facility with no hope of escaping from a filthy locked basement ward and refusing her access to family is elder abuse. Handing ownership of a human being to an apathetic, uninvolved alleged guardian who is paid by the owned person against her will is elder abuse. My parents both worked for decades building careers that gave them satisfaction and a great sense of purpose while helping the community. My father was a township manager for 42 years, a Rotary Club member, a scout leader, and a much-loved Little League coach. The pension he earned to help support my mother in her senior years has been sucked away for a non-guardian and a non-representative attorney to force her into captivity and isolation. My mother ran a literacy program for decades and devoted her life to helping others learn how to read, fill out school and job applications, and achieve their goals. Now she can barely form a sentence because her already challenged memory and frail ego were both beaten into oblivion in a facility without physical or mental stimulation. The judge and insidious attorney who put her there are still being paid by our county tax dollars. I repeatedly asked the commissioners to look into changing the policies of the agencies they oversee and the salaries they pay to the perpetrators of such actions. I'm just here asking again. I know you're all aware of this and on top of it. I'm just mentioning it and letting the public know about it. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Jenny, for your comments. And I know that you and I met with our team, and we've been looking into some of the guardianship challenges. So thank you for raising it again.
You're welcome, and I'm always available as a resource. Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comment?
One more, Adrian Seltzer.
Adrian?
Now, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. In reference to the gun safety and gun unit, the access to guns and all that goes along with that, I would like to suggest that you get in touch with Carlton Myers Esquire. He's been doing work with communities across the United States, most of it in the Midwest, but he has done work in Delaware and Florida too. And I would like to send you his contact information so you can look over his website. He's done great work with teens, and I think he would be a valuable asset to the.
Thank you for your comment, Adrian. Anything else? Okay. Any closing commissioner comments?
I think that, real quick, that we should try to get on two things on upcoming meetings. I think one is planned, but just as a review, just an update on Justice Center.
Okay.
And also, it's been brought up numerous times about the planning commission budget, so I'd love to have, 10-minute presentation on just an overview of what that budget breakdown is, so that people understand about how the money comes in and how the money's allocated and everything else. I think it would be good. It doesn't have to be, but I think a good overview would be beneficial.
That's fair. Anything else?
Looking forward to the July 4th parades. We'll be in Glenside and Skip-Pack, hopefully some other spots. Also want to recognize, Gen Z will appreciate this, but the #1 song on the Billboard charts is from Monco native from East Greenville, Sabrina Carpenter. So if she
What
wants
song?
to come in, it's called Please, Please, Please.
Please?
So
Okay, I'll have to play it on my way
I
home.
do want to say that there are 3 minutes for public comment, and we can extend that to 3 minutes and 6 seconds should Sabrina Carpenter want to show up and
Yes,
play this.
that's how long
Yes.
her song is?
Yes.
Okay, you look that up?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you sing it?
I
Do you
think we
sing
should
it?
sing it. Should we
You could
play
sing,
it?
yeah.
No.
You know the words?
So we'll work on this together.
Yeah, I'll do
Yes.
backgrounds.
Oh, Lee's got it pulled up.
Well, that's-
Okay.
That's part of his playlist.
That's right, yeah, it's in the
So now-
rotation.
So now you have to sing it.
I ran to
so.
it this morning, yeah.
All right, we'll get her in to have her sing it live.
East Greenville.
Very good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
would've known?
See you at the parades.
Okay. Upcoming meeting dates, we have a Board of Elections meeting immediately following Salary Board, Board of Commissioners meeting on Tuesday, July 18th. And then that's it. So I'm going to make a motion to adjourn the June 27th meeting of the Montgomery County Board of Commissioners. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner DeBello. Any board comment? All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned. I'd like to invite our controller up for Salary Board. Hi Benji, how are you? You doing
Little extra
well?
work this
You want to come sit with mommy? No? Okay, all right. It's better down there in those seats. All right, is there any public comment for Salary Board?
No.
Okay. All right.
It's happening again.
He really wants to sing it.
Sing it, yeah, okay. Can you please review the Salary Board lists, Ms. Catherine Halen?
Yes. Good morning, Salary Board members. You should have in front of you the final copy of the Salary Board list. It is a 5-page document dated June 26, 24, with a timestamp of 11 a.m. We have made some modifications to the Salary Board list. You will now find a listing of new positions by title, department, and the salary range that will be utilized for recruitment. We have listed all new hires by requisition number, position, and salary. In addition, we have listed other transactions and the listing of individuals going off-roll by employee number and position. All transactions have been reviewed by management and are now presented for your consideration.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the June 27th, 2024 Salary Board presentation as given by Ms. Catherine Halen. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by, who should I choose? Commissioner Makija. Any board comment?
I'm just going to make one quick comment. I know we're doing a lot of great changes to how we're laying this out, and I support it. And I think it's a good way of depicting it and kind of get a better structure in place. But I want to, moving forward, this will be the last time that I'll approve additional, even though we're trying to make a lot of structural changes and do good things in the county. I'm not going to approve after today additional new hires or new positions until I start to see more budgeted as far as where we at with the spending related to salaries.
Okay. Any additional?
Can I
board-
amend to add some more positions today?
Yeah. So what I would like to just say is appreciate your perspective, Commissioner DeBello, and I think as a new administration, we're really looking at, how we are operating as a county. And do we have the right people and the right chairs? Do we have the right roles? And so I want to make sure that Dean and Lee get you everything you need in terms of the finances and how we're working to operate a balanced budget. And with adding new positions, we also have to think about where are there potential savings. We know, that this is a complex and large organization. We know that we're getting ready to go through our budgeting process, and we'll be looking at both what all teams need in order to deliver for the residents of Montgomery County, but also where do we have opportunity to make improvements in terms of efficiency, and where would there be potential cost savings. So I know that this board takes our fiduciary responsibility very seriously. And we just want to invest in making sure that our teams have the tools that they need in order to deliver on our promises to residents.
Yeah, can I just add something?
Sure.
So I think it's really important to recognize, so I've dug deep in at least one area, which is voter services. We've got 20 full-time people in voter services. For comparison, Philadelphia has 140. Their budget's $28 million, ours is $6 million. And it gives you a sense of how hard people are working in Montgomery County, how understaffed we are, and I'm glad we have a few voter services position in here, but to give you an example, in the primary, we had satellite offices open. Those were staffed by our solicitor's office. So those are the kinds of things that are happening right now. So I'm glad we've got a couple of these voter services positions in, but in order to really enfranchise people and do a good job in terms of service delivery, we've got to deal with the understaffing. And that's true, I'm sure, across the board as we get to dig deeper into what's happening in departments.
Any other comments?
I have one comment, but it's not related to this particular topic. I just wanted to thank you, Katie Hallen, and thank you, Ben Field, for this new format for the commissioners. It's I think a lot more helpful and a lot more refreshing and a lot more transparent to have positions on the salary board go on before the positions are posted. And I think it will make the salary board run a lot smoother. So thank you for bringing that to the table and presenting it and getting it done so quickly. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and the other thing that I just want to say, and then I'll be quiet, because we have election board, which is exciting, is we also, like, behind the scenes, like, we're doing some work to really talk about, like, our plans and sit down with individual salary board members, so everybody understands the full picture in terms of why we're doing certain hires. So I thank you for your leadership, as well as Ben, as well as Lee, and just thinking about new ways to be transparent about some of the decisions we're making. So, all right, so we're going to move on to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the June 27th, 2024 meeting of the Montgomery County Salary Board. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner DeBello. Any board comment? All in favor? I was like, what am I doing? All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Aye.
Are we gonna do a break before the election board?
We were gonna move right into.
Can we do like a 5-minute break?
Yeah, yeah.
There's no policies, procedures, protocols to look for voter fraud. You actually told me and others to bring you evidence. So I got you some evidence. According to the state, when I talked to them, as well as documentation, you cannot register to vote with a P.O. box. Well, here's 50 that are registered to vote with a P.O. box, and actually, it's the same P.O. box. So I will provide this to you in an email, so for the record. With regards to people moving out of state or moving out of the county, I've got 5 here that moved and basically are still in the voter rolls. 1 moved in 22, 1 moved in 21, 1 moved in 20, and they're still active on the voter rolls. So, you know, how can that be? And who's in charge of reviewing things like this to purge the voter rolls? And actually, you had one person who moved in April of 21 who voted in November of 22. So that's greater than a year out. And that person moved to New York. I got that list that I'll send you as well. So, you know, again, it doesn't seem to me, I mean, just listening to how the meetings are run, that you have any concern or prioritization of voter integrity. I don't hear it as an item brought up. You know, I was saying at the commissioners' meeting, there's no, you know, hey, here's how many people we purged from the rolls that are deceased. I think it's got to be more of a priority.
Next up is Barbara, or Barb, I'm sorry, it looks like Merman? Furman.
Hello, Barb. I know that our team has to completely audit that night every single ballot, and I don't see that. It's hard to see chain of custody and the whole auditability. We got a list last time that ended on Tuesday with 1 week left. And so it was very hard for us to figure out, well, how many of those mail-ins were actually cast. That happened the days and weeks after. It would be best if we knew that night, the night or the next day. So I did, with the upcoming election in 2024, the general election, I did a little Google search of some quotes. It's no longer just about who gets to vote or making it easier for eligible voters to vote. It's about who gets to count the vote, who gets to count whether or not your vote counted at all. It's about moving from independent election administrators who work for the people to polarized state legislatures and partisan actors who work for political parties. To me, this is simple. This is election subversion. It's the most dangerous threat to voting and the integrity of a free and fair elections in history. Never before have they decided who gets to count, who votes count. And of course, that's what I'm talking about. locals should be counting the precinct. That quote came on July 13th, 2021 by President Biden at the Constitution Center. Another one, we're in a situation where we have put together, and you guys did it for our administration.
Thank you.
Mr.
Any
Chairman,
other commenters?
Mr. Chairman, we'd like to pause the meeting to restart the sound system. Here,
Okay.
a couple of the mics are not picking up.
Sure, pause. We're good?
Okay.
Any other commenters?
Yes, we have Marlene Laska. Marlene, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Thank you. It's Marlene Laska, Upper Providence Township. On the Pennsylvania Department of State website, there are requirements to register to vote in Pennsylvania. Specifically, the website says, quote, "To vote in Pennsylvania, you must meet the requirements to register to vote. Use this page to learn about who can vote. To register to vote in Pennsylvania, you must, 1, be a citizen of the United States for at least 1 month before the next primary, special, municipal, or general election. 2, be a resident of Pennsylvania and in the election district in which you want to register and vote for at least 30 days before the next primary, special, municipal, or general election. And 3, be at least 18 years of age on or before the day of the next primary, special, municipal, or general election." End of quote. So it is said that many illegals don't know that they are breaking the law by voting. In fact, they are being told the opposite, that they can vote. Montgomery Valley should have no problem with posting at each polling location, including satellite offices, requirements that are on the Pennsylvania Department of State website that only U.S. citizens can vote. Given the situation at our borders, posting such signs saying you must be a U.S. citizen to vote is a common sense way to guarantee that bona fide U.S. citizens are not disenfranchised from voting. Bottom line, the Montco Board of Commissioners has the, and Board of Elections has the authority to require this signage at each polling location and satellite office. And U.S. citizens within Montgomery County require the Montco Board of Commissioners, Board of Election to do just that. Thank you.
Any other commenters?
We have Sandra Levine.
Sandra Levine, Hatfield Township. Monday, we heard at the Capitol Rotunda a number of people who were interested in hand counting and the election integrity information that would lead us to want to do that. Over a year ago, Montgomery Township had paper ballots that did not fit the machine. Not everybody could vote. They couldn't wait around until the right size came. This would overcome, using machines, we're not dependent on them. There was a ransomware attack in one county. We could be shut down. We know that China is out to do all kinds of things to play havoc with our grid, our infrastructure, and our voting is such an important part of our rights here. I have a person who will not vote anymore because she says, I do not trust the system at all with these new machines that we've gotten, and the fact that they can be connected to the internet, maybe not the machine itself, but the drives that are in them, the whole system that takes forever. I would like to know if the election board has any backup plan in case one of these emergencies happens that would shut down the normal voting and all this counting at the counting center. Everything should come back to the precinct where we can check people who are registered to vote in the book. And the gentleman who was talking about registration, I have one gentleman who was supposed to live in the trailer park on a certain lot, and he hasn't been there for the last 3 voting cycles, and yet I saw that he had received a ballot out in California with the post office box. And it made no sense to me how he is living here in a plot that other people are living in and never heard of this man. So we have some problems with our registration list and also with counting. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yes, we have Adrian Seltzer on Zoom.
Go ahead, Adrian.
I'm unmuted. Hi. Adrian Seltzer, Lower Merion. I have been a judge of elections for about 10 years. I have worked in the polls for over 35 years. The thing that happened in Montgomery Township should not have happened because there is a slot in the voting machine where if it's not reading, you can stick that in and then the ballots can be counted later. People should not have been not given the opportunity to vote. They could have also filled out a provisional ballot. So there was options. And some of the comments that I have heard on this meeting, I've heard them on other meetings too, show a lack of understanding of how voting actually works. There is checks and balances on the machines. They are checked. The votes are counted. The people who do that are local people. You can call up the Board of Elections and say you would like to work to help audit the election. I myself am here just to speak about the satellite offices and would like to lobby for more hours at the satellite office for people to be able to come in. If they made a mistake with their mail-in ballot, they can get it fixed. If they would like to apply for the ballot, get it and vote. It's a one-stop shop. I am a cheerleader for the satellite offices, and I hope there can be many more hours. And as a poll worker and someone who is very familiar with election law, I would like to volunteer to work at one of the satellite office to help out. And it won't cost the county anything, because as a poll worker, I can't be an employee of the county, but I can volunteer. Thank you.
Thank you for your service as a poll worker and what you're offering. Frank can follow up. We're gonna need your help, as I just mentioned in the last meeting. There's a staffing issue in which we need to be able to build capacity to offer those services, which I strongly support. And Frank will provide an update in a second. Just to comment on some of the things that were said, and Frank, you can address some of this in terms of voter maintenance. Our system was challenged in every possible way it could be challenged in 2020, in every court. I think 60 cases nationwide. In Pennsylvania, it has been thoroughly examined, and we have an election process that has integrity, that is incredibly safe, that has multiple safeguards. I think someone said today there are no safeguards. Let me just remind folks here, every voter who voted in each election is public. So if there's an allegation that there's non-citizens or ineligible people or dead people voting, that can easily be checked after the fact. And in fact, we have all those records from the 2020 election, been examined thoroughly by third parties, independents, various organizations, individuals who seek that out. And in the courts, when there was an attempt to overturn the election and disenfranchise 3 million people in Pennsylvania, that was rejected by judges of both parties, including by ultimately the U.S. Supreme Court, despite the fact that the challenge was brought by a president who has appointed a number of those justices. So we have had our system tested in the past, and it has withstood those attacks because of the integrity of the system. In Montgomery County in particular, I should say, we have voter verified paper trail for every single vote. This is not some process that's on a computer that can be hacked. We have paper ballots that are audited after the fact. So even if the scanner has an issue, we do a random audit, multiple random audits after every election. We then compare those to the results. We have an amazing team of poll workers, 2,700 ordinary people, everyday citizens who step up, like some of you who are in this room or on the call, who make sure that that process is seamless because they respect the fact that their voters, that their neighbors, their friends and neighbors have the right to vote, should be able to vote for a person of their choosing, no matter who that is. So, Frank, why don't you come up and you can talk about some of the updates and if there are things you want to say about
I think
voter
there's more
maintenance,
public comment.
integrity. Oh, okay. We got more. Okay. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Next up is Scott Emmerich on Zoom. Scott, can you hear us? Scott?
Scott? We don't hear you. You want to try the next person and come back to him?
He's talking. Yeah, that's, so we have, in the room, Jean White.
I gave this before, but I'm going to read it for the election committee. My name is Jean White from Montgomery. I have submitted 14 right-to-know requests for various Montco information. Lauren Rakowski, the contract and right-to-knows administrator, responds to each of my right-to-know requests with an acceptance email, and she assigns a Pennsylvania right-to-know case number. After 5 days of receipt of Lauren's email, I receive an email from Joshua C. Wertheimer, the newly hired agent of Open Records Officer, requesting an allowable 30-day extension to the time for of reply for my right-to-know submissions. Within those 30 days, on each of these 14 right-to-know requests, I get one of the following responses. On 4 of them, I received a denial. Not part of the right-to-know by Joshua Wertheimer, and please submit a Montco voter records request form for all of these right-to-know requests. With the exception of 1 denial and 1 partial response, I have submitted these voter forms, and which give me a 5-day response time. To date, they have replied to only 1 with an insufficient information. Why? The insufficient reply involves Sarah sending me a report on 2023 of ERIC form letters sent out with the number of responses received, but not the listing of the voters corresponding to that report. Frank Dean then sent me a report but that report did not correspond to the dates of Sarah's report. I have appealed 2 of these right-to-know request denials. I have resubmitted 4 of these right-to-know denials due to a personal surgery injury. I have been denied 1 on the belief that it would affect the security of the Pennsylvania security voter system, and the remaining 6 requests are pending a response within 5 business days. Can anyone explain to me why Voter Services ignores Montco voter service request forms? when our Monco agent of open records, Joshua Withheimer, states that I can obtain this information from voter services via the completion of said form. I am a valid registered voter of Monco, and so this is not an issue, and I would like to know why. Thank you.
Thank you. As we said in the last meeting, please submit that to us, to the secretary. Thank you.
Let's go back to Scott on Zoom and see if it's working.
Go ahead, Scott.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yep.
Thanks for the opportunity to speak before the commission today. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. I would really like to ask that the commissioners seriously consider hand counting of election day votes. There's an individual in Missouri that's written a nearly 300-page document, and she has implemented this process in an entire county in Missouri. So she's proven that it's not difficult to do. Some of the benefits is there's a reduced time for the clerks administering the elections. It supposedly saves a lot of money, according to her. The election results can be completed on election day by humans, and it's a very transparent process. According to the SURE data from June 10th, our largest precinct in the county has 4,058 active voters. If you could count 17 votes in a minute, you would only need 4 hours to complete the vote counting of that precinct in its entirety. So if you want transparent elections, if you want to silence critics, you can easily do that. Just 2 volunteers. These could be poll workers, they could be poll watchers, or they could be other citizens. Why would you not at least try this method? I strongly recommend utilizing hand counting for the upcoming election. I'll be glad to provide the document. I'll be glad to assist in any training necessary. I would just like to see this attempted. Thank you.
I appreciate it. I'm interested to know the population size of that county. But Frank, you can address whether you want to hand count these ballots this year or not. But I will say we do count an audited selection, random audited selection of ballots in every election. But that's it, right? Okay, go on. So welcome to our Director of Elections, Frank Dean.
Good morning, Election Board. I'm here today to provide an update on our preparations for the 2024 general election. There have been a lot of different comments, and I'll try to address them as I go through, where they might be applicable, but please feel free to interrupt. I'm happy to announce that Voter Services has already begun staffing up to meet the anticipated demand of this fall's election, including 2 new deputy directors, an outreach specialist, and 3 new clerks. The Deputy Director of Outreach and Voter Education will oversee a new arm of the department whose focus will be on increasing our community presence and developing a robust voter education program. Someone had mentioned it earlier that they believe that a lot of the comments that are made stem from people just wanting to know more about our processes and how we work. And it's my hope that the Deputy Director can create a program that gets that information out to all of Montgomery County voters to help alleviate some of these concerns. We're also holding weekly meetings with senior staff here, the solicitors, and vendors to discuss project management timelines and monitor key progress on key dates and milestones. I'll be reporting those regularly back to you folks at future election board meetings. We're holding meetings with regional and statewide election directors to discuss best practices, talk about challenges, concerns, new ideas, and just generally workshop everything from language access to who is the better vendor. We're cross-training our clerks to ensure that we can pivot the maximum number of available resources to meet any demands this election cycle brings, whether that's surges in voter registrations or applications to vote by mail. We're also onboarding temporary staff to provide assistance and information to voters both over the phone and online. In that vein, if any voters do need any assistance, our office can be reached over the phone, 610-278-3280, through the contact form on our website at montgomerycountypa.gov/voters or by email at montcovotes@montgomerycountypa.gov. List maintenance activities. A lot of things mentioned about list maintenance. Currently, there are two means where we are able to remove someone from our voter rolls, either through one of the state-approved methods, such as NCOA, ERIC, PennDOT, or upon the death of a voter. There's no other means where we can unilaterally cancel someone's voter registration. The voter has to request that of us. As part of our statutory duty, we are in the process of conducting our list maintenance activities for this year. There are 3 different avenues where we can receive this data. The first is the National Change of Address database from the post office. These would be voters that have moved in the county, but or have stayed in the county but moved to a new address, out of the county entirely or out of the state. We have to mail that person a letter. If they don't respond within 30 days, we mail a second letter, place that person on inactive status, and that begins the clock to removal. A person has to fail to respond to that notice or vote or actively cancel their registration within 2 federal general elections, so a 2-year cycle. After that second general election, we are allowed to cancel that person's registration. This week, we mailed 3,112 in-county letters, 1,517 out-of-county letters, and 4,081 out-of-state letters. The second avenue that we receive this information from is PennDOT. These are people that just update their records with the Department of State or Department of Transportation. We immediately mail those people and what's called an AVN notice. That places their profile on inactive status, starts that clock. We mailed 1,449 of those letters this week. And the third source is the DMV from other states. It's the same exact process. We mail those people a notice letting them know that the clock has started. They now have 2 federal general elections to respond to this notice or vote, or we are going to cancel their registration. We mailed 1,021 of those letters. Any questions about any of those things? All right. Polling locations. It's our intention to return all the polling locations that were moved as a result of the Passover holiday. Our polling location coordinator is currently working to confirm with all of those original locations that we can come back and everything is A-OK. As soon as all of those locations have been confirmed, I'll be bringing those before the board for your approval. Poll worker outreach and education. I'm very excited about this. As mentioned, we have 2,700 people, ordinary citizens that help us out every election. We couldn't run an election without them. We are currently working to update our training materials and schedule additional trainings to make it easier and more accessible than ever for these people to get the training that they need to best serve our voters. We are going to be reaching out to all of our elected poll workers soon to confirm their availability for November and also start helping them to build out their teams. Once we have an idea of where we need people, we have a database of over 6,000 people that have applied to become a poll worker in Montgomery County. We are also going to leverage our relationships with the parties and outside organizations if we feel that we are still in need of assistance.
Where do they apply?
If anyone interested in becoming a poll worker can apply to our office by visiting our website, montgomerycountypa.gov/pollworkers, or they can also email us at pollworkers@montgomerycountypa.gov. Or they can just give us a call and we can walk them through that process.
Are you referring to the JOEs and the inspectors and the machine operators and all that? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
I just wanted.
So judges and inspectors are our first points of contact, anybody that was elected, just to confirm that everything is still okay, they're still able to work, and then working with them to make sure that they have an adequate sized team.
When will there be a list put together of open positions and what polls?
Yes, we will probably in the next few weeks begin regular meetings with the parties, and we provide that list to them to say, we have these open positions at these polling locations, can you guys give us a hand? That's our usual second step. We try to rely on each poll to find their own people. It's kind of they're the captain of their ship kind of idea.
Yeah, I'd like to see the list when it's ready.
Absolutely. Mail-in voting. To date, we've received just over 77,000 applications for mail ballots for the general election. We do anticipate that number to grow rapidly in the upcoming weeks. We're kind of going through the summer lull. but everyone will come back from their vacations, and remember, there's election in November, so you will hear that number skyrocket, I feel, towards the end of the summer.
What's that added to the primary request?
That's including the primary.
Oh, that's including the primary,
Yes.
okay.
As I said, it's the summer lull.
Well, no, I didn't know if that was 77.
No, it's not,
new,
not
so
over.
it's all-inclusive.
Our current estimate is that we'll cap somewhere around 200,000.
Yeah.
To meet that demand, along with the increases in staff I mentioned earlier, we're reviewing our current Dropbox and satellite office locations and schedules of operation to see where we can increase that accessibility. There are a number of factors at play in determining both satellite offices and Dropbox locations, but our data can only tell part of that story. We would also like to work with members of the public, local community leaders and elected officials to source any insight they may have as to where the most need is, and maybe places that we are missing. Once we finish that review and those conversations, I'll be bringing those recommendations before this board to consider for approval. Our goal is to begin issuing ballots as soon as we are able. There are a few important dates and events that need to happen before we were able to start printing ballots that we would just like everyone to be aware of. August 1st is the deadline to file nomination papers for any independent candidates. August 8th is the deadline to file objections to those nomination papers. August 12th is the deadline for those candidates to withdraw. And once any objections are resolved, we still have to wait for the Department of State to approve our ballot before we can start printing and mailing. We are revising our internal processes to make sure that the absolute second that we receive that approval, those ballots are being printed and mailed, so that we are giving our voters as much time as possible to find a way to return them to us.
Yeah. Can I just add some color to that? Sure. So that is a top priority, given, the experience of the primary, which essentially is this idea that we can do quality assurance on potentially multiple decks, depending on what happens in the courts. So if the courts are weighing whether or not a particular independent candidate is going to be on the ballot or knocked off the ballot, we can run 2 decks, one without them, one with them. It gets complicated if there's multiples, and that requires staffing and support. But we want to run the quality assurance processes. It takes about 3 days for each deck, is what you told me?
Yes.
And it requires people looking at how many variations?
Just over 2,000 for this election.
2,000, and people have eyeballs on each one of those?
That's correct.
It's a lot of work.
Yes.
We're going to make it a little bit even more work, and the reason is because we want to get ballots in the hands of our voters as soon as we can, and we're going to give you all the support. I think we talk about it as a board, but I think I certainly support, and I'm sure my colleagues do, giving you the support to make sure that happens. And you'll get to a place where on the day the ballot is certified, we send it to the printer, and we can talk about the printer, but we've had many conversations with both NPC, and there is another option out there through Pennsylvania CoStars, and they've given us a sense of a guaranteed turnaround time, and we're going to have to make a decision as a board fairly quickly as to whether we're going to make any changes there, and we also need some more information to make that decision from both of these parties. Can you give us a sense of when we would need to make that decision by to get moving?
We would probably need to provide that information, I would say by mid to late August, or mid to late July. We would need to, August, just so that we can be preparing those decks. Did I understand the question correctly?
I'm talking about if we're going to make a change on our printer.
You didn't understand what he was
If we're going to make a change on our printer, I think the answer is today.
Yes.
It's like within days.
Change to the printers immediately.
Within days,
Changes to the process for test decks and things, we would need.
That's in August.
Yes, around August.
So if there's any change to happen, it's got to happen ASAP. So if there's any information that anybody needs to make that decision, we should do that in the coming days.
Are the test decks computer generated or hand generated?
Both. We use a mix of computer generated and hand generated. The test deck can test The original was to test every iteration, one vote per candidate on the ballot. The Department of State has revised that guideline to a cumulative total, so that you can tell if, as has happened in past elections, candidates weren't programmed correctly, so they weren't totaling correctly. Now everyone gets essentially a pattern of votes. So if your votes aren't totaling correctly, the pattern is off. Which is very gross oversimplification of that process, but we also we use a computer generated for the lion's share of that. We also hand mark our own ballots to confirm just things like pen and paper are all scanning properly.
Just to clarify, Frank is describing the testing process.
Yes.
For anyone who's just tuning in the middle of that.
Oh, sorry. Well, I knew what he was talking about.
Good, yeah.
Got it.
Some key dates for voters. October 21st is the deadline to register for the November election. October 29th is the deadline to apply for the mail-in or absentee ballot. And November 5th is election day. Are there any questions from the board that I can answer?
I just wanted to thank you for your leadership. It can be hard to be in these meetings and have like the integrity of the work that this amazing team does every day questioned. And so not everyone that's here has the opportunity to see all the work that's happening behind the scenes. So we'll continue to be deliberate about sharing the work that's happening and how we are working to deliver free and fair elections, because I'll say what I said the last couple of board meetings. My integrity is something that makes me who I am, and I take pride in ensuring that we're doing the right thing by the residents of Montgomery County. So I just want to thank you for your leadership. We've been pushing you and the team a lot on the improvements that need to be made, throwing a lot of ideas out in the middle of a year where if you make shifts in strategy, you never know. So thank you for being diligent about being open about how just we improve the overall voter services experience. So continue to let us know what you need. We all know how important November is, but every election is important. So just continue to be diligent about letting us know what you need. So, and thanks again for all that you do.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Yes. And just double down on that, whatever you need, you have from me. And I think Commissioner Winder feels the same. I'm sure Commissioner DeBello is also very supportive.
For most stuff. No, I think you're doing it, you're working your tail off over there, and it's definitely noticeable. And one of the things I don't know if I'd like to get a chart, milestone chart with specific, prerequisites and deliverables and all that on, so we're tracking, instead of you just throwing out the dates here, so.
Yes, so part of those meetings that we're having with senior staff and vendors is to develop those dates. Some of them are honestly too nebulous at this point because we don't know what the petition period is going to bring.
Right.
Once that happens, my goal is to provide those firm dates to the board and to the public so that we're being transparent and so that you are all as up to date and aware of where we are at in the process as possible.
Yeah, but it's also, it's important to track, we
Yeah.
know when a specific date, has to happen. We know that if we want to have mail-in ballots go out 30 days prior to the election, this has to happen here. If we want it to go out 40 days before the election, you know what I mean? It's
Right.
we have to back up from that. We can't just throw out, I'm not saying that you're doing this, but we can't just throw out things and say, we want mail-in ballots to go out as soon as possible. I want to be a little bit more, precise on what our targeted goal is. If our target goal is 40 days before the election, then what does that look like and what has to happen when?
Absolutely, I will develop those and get those over to you. Part of the process of the additional test decks will allow us to move that timetable up considerably and kind of front load a lot of that work. So once we have an understanding of how long that will take some of our vendors to help us accomplish, I can provide that information to you.
I think generally what Commissioner DeBello is suggesting, though, is just a good idea. Anytime you're working on a project, so let's say the November election is the project, let's just have a project timeline with all of the deliverables, even if you don't know, to your point, which I understand, what the actual date, you can always move those timelines. So if you aren't using some type of tool to track everything, because there's so many moving parts, I'm sure you are.
We are.
Hopefully not on a Post-it note,
No.
but in all seriousness, I think that'll just be a tool that will further assist you and just making sure we're dotting our i's and crossing our t's on everything we have to deliver on, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then we have the drop boxes, and I just want to we have cameras on each of the Dropbox locations at this point.
Yes, sir.
So if we would move a Dropbox location, we would have to have the ability to set up a
Yes.
similar situation.
That's one of the challenges I was alluding to. We need to make sure that we have adequate power so that we can have our cameras installed, as is our policy with Dropboxes.
Yeah, what's the possibility of us live streaming those videos?
I can look into that. The power and data capability is the
Well,
limitation.
power
there.
shouldn't be an issue, it's the data capability.
Yeah. I will look into that and report back.
Yeah, I'm really curious about understanding if we just live stream those. So we talked about are we having monthly election board meetings now going into November? What's the plan?
I am more than happy to schedule that, yeah.
I think with the importance of November, I think even if it's a half an hour meeting, just to touch base and see where we're at with stuff.
Certainly.
I think it'll be extremely important. One of the other things that I wanted to throw out there, because when you're over at central processing, for example, we have a watch your area, right? And I looked into this, and I'm not really sure where that policy comes from, past or post-COVID. And I've talked with some other counties that have lifted that. But I don't necessarily want to see, a dozen people, being able to move around, through central processing or at the warehouse. But one of the things I'd like to do is for us to have the ability to have, potentially maybe 4 watchers from each party with the appropriate paperwork to say this is what they can do, that have the ability to basically move around the facilities and oversee everything that's going on. I think we could establish, and you and I've talked about this, we could establish rules that we can hang on the door, like they can't become a nuisance, they can't be getting in the way, asking questions, you know what I mean? Like, we could establish guidelines that they have to work within. But I think that we, especially with this November coming, I think we need to be a little bit more open to allowing, because in reality, again, when I looked at everything, watchers are allowed, there's nothing that says they have to be restricted to a area where they can or cannot see everything that's going on. So that's something that I want us to look at as well, and I love that, I want to have that in place for November. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that?
It's absolutely something I can look into and work up to bring before you. That policy, as you mentioned, was largely born of COVID.
Right.
But with the recession of that, we don't limit the number of watchers in the room as we did in COVID. We have an overflow room and cameras established all around the room so that you can see every part of the operation. The limitation, as you also mentioned, I just wouldn't want somebody standing in front of that ballot card as it's coming across and getting their foot run over or impeding any kind of progress.
Well, right, I mean, we could
So
establish guidelines.
as long as we could establish type
Yeah.
of guidelines.
You can live stream that, right? In terms of the counting process.
I can also look into that along with the drop boxes.
Seems a little bit easier. I know Philly did that, right?
Philly has a live stream at their warehouse, yes.
Got it. Okay. Well, I would just reiterate on the printer. So I walked through the timelines with Frank in terms of how we get to 30 days, 40 days, 50 days, et cetera. And the number one way that we can be faster is by getting these test stacks, having multiple options done, quality assured, ready, so that when the court certifies a ballot, we can send it to a printer, and we have at least one printer that has told us 24 to 72 hours is their turnaround. Department of State backs that up, speaks very highly of them. And we have to hear from our current printer and see if, what their capacity changes are gonna be. They've made some indication that they will, but we should get that information and share it, through the staff to the board. And if we need to schedule a special meeting next week, or it just takes 2 days to schedule a special meeting, so we can do that whenever you need it.
Of course.
Quick question for solicitor. What's the policy or law on cellular signal jammers?
I'm not familiar with the question. The policy on cellular what?
Signal jammers?
Cellular signal jammers, like when you go into central processing, should be nothing going out. But when you're there and you look, it's picking up cell signals from all over the place.
I am not aware of any specific provisions in the election code that address that.
I'm curious about.
From a security, so you're asking from a security
Yeah.
perspective, can we jam cellular activity within
Yeah,
our central processing facility?
in the warehouse, yeah,
We'll look into that.
yeah. Because, we put all this money into the fiber lines and all that, the dedicated fiber line. So when you sit there and comes up, you could see cellular signals just coming and going constantly. Because I'm also curious about, because nobody's been able to prove to me that there's no type of cellular device on the voting machines. And I think that's something that we should look at as well.
We can?
By machines, you mean scanners, right? So
The in-precinct scanners?
In
or-
precinct, yeah.
got it. Any other comments, board comments, questions? Okay. Thank you again for all your work. This is a very big.
Wait,
Go ahead.
if people
Go ahead.
have specific examples of concerns related to the voter rolls, they reach out to you, or what process do you want to have in place for that?
They can reach out to us.
When you say us, is it just somebody in general? or-
Monco votes at
Okay.
montgomerycountyva.gov is the best way.
Okay.
It goes through our customer service platform, which lets us work on it a lot more efficiently. But as I mentioned, there's only two means for us to act unilaterally.
Right.
If that information isn't provided to us through one of the state-approved removal programs or the death of the voter, there isn't anything that we are statutorily allowed to do with that information.
Yeah, because when you pull down the data, the voter rolls, like you're interacting with the state regularly, right? On
Yes.
the overall state database.
Yes.
So anything that you do, if you make a change here, how does that, is it a read-write back and forth with the state, or how does that work?
Yes, we have read-write access. The state performs a backup every night.
Right.
Any changes out of the county or out of the state is like lock and step. We would initiate a transfer, and the receiving end has to accept the transfer.
And then when it's updated at the state, so then when you get it back, how often do you pull down how often does you get an updated voter roll from the state?
We get updated voter information every day.
Every day.
The system is live every day. The list maintenance activities are recommended to be performed annually because it is a large number of mailings. So for us, it's about 11,000. We typically do that in January due to the special election having an effect on 77 precincts and shutting down registration prior to that election. We bumped it to over the summer so that we can perform it now.
Right.
We also have begun receiving data from the Department of State as part of the ERIC program, identifying people that have moved out of state and haven't responded. And the state actually developed their own program notifying those voters, and any voters that responded to that were part of this removal.
So, so I just want to understand because you were talking about the active and inactive.
Yes.
So with that whole process, if somebody goes inactive, they could become active again, right?
Yes.
And so it's the same voter record?
Yes.
So with the the voter registration date then, would that be the new date that they become active, or is it the date that when they registered to vote originally?
It's the date they were registered to vote originally.
Originally, so that back and forth between active and inactive, nothing should change regarding their voter history then?
Nothing should change regarding their voter history. It's just a timer for all intents and purposes of the system now knows that any voters that have been inactive through to federal general elections, the day after that election, they are queued up for removal.
So if they're removed, but they're never really physically removed?
They're canceled.
They're canceled, right? But
Yes.
they're still in the database. Could they go from canceled to inactive to active then?
No, you would have to reactivate their registration first.
They would have to, or?
They would have to. We wouldn't.
Right, they would have to.
Yeah, we don't act on a voter's profile without any type of direction. We don't do it unilaterally, with the exception of, again, deaths. And we're still getting information outside of our office. Like the Department of Health will provide us a death notification, family members will provide us.
So what happens on election day if somebody's deemed inactive, but they show up to vote?
They just have to sign an affirmation at the poll, or the process by which they request a mail-in ballot reactivates them.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you. It's very clear, I think, to everyone that you know your stuff. Comments over, so you could probably just mute them. Sorry. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. But thank you, Frank, for all your work, your time. Thanks to your whole team for the tremendous job that you're doing. And, like I said, the resources are here. Let us know what you need. We can call meetings, special meetings as needed if there are urgent decisions to be made. And yeah, we're here. I think we're all on the same page there. So thank you all. And I will make a motion to adjourn the June 27, 2024 meeting of the Montgomery County Board of Elections. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner DeBello. Any board comment? Seeing none, the meeting, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Meeting is adjourned.